We're going to start the class. So today we're going to discuss the history of animal nutrition uh, because every science has got a history. So we have to respect the scientists who have worked earlier, who have contributed to the science as such. So before going to the history of animal nutrition, so I would like to uh, give a brief introduction on the nutrition as such. So when we join as a veterinarian to the BVSC and AH, so we join with the aim of the treating the animals. So treatment does not involve only giving the injections, right? So either giving the antibiotics or the painkillers or so usually what happens when we join a BVSC and AH, so we'll have the notion that once we have a stent around our neck and have a syringe in your hand, so that is like you feel proud. So, but in an animal or the livestock sector, so there are other basic managemental practices or the nutrition which plays a very critical role. So that's how where we are actually going wrong is so compared to the developed countries. So we generally aim at the treatment of the animal rather than giving the a good nutrition to the animal or good managemental practices. So in a developed nation, what they do usually, so they don't treat the animal. So either they will go with the good nutrition and good management of practices. Even then, if the animal is succumb to some infections or some conditions, so they go for a culling. They don't treat. So treatment is a again expenditure. It involves expenditure and it decreases the production. So it's not a profitable. But in a developing countries like India, we always, whenever there is animal is sick, so we always feel that we should give some injections, some antibiotics or something, and it should get cured. So in actually, so there are more metabolic diseases than the actually infectious diseases. Say for example, if you take the metabolic diseases in the cattle as such, so of course immediately after the calving or immediately after the pasteurization, so there are some conditions which even today we are not able to treat them, like the hypocalcemia, simple conditions, so which still it's a major problem in the field. So like this, there are the ketosis problem, the energy deficiency problems, and there are the Downer cow syndromes. So still we call it as a syndrome because we don't know the etiology or the cause of this. So there are so many such metabolic diseases which the main root of this metabolic disease is the nutrition. So if there is infection, we can identify, diagnose it, the infection, and we can treat it very easily because there are broad spectrum antibiotics available. So which can be given a single shot and the animals will be okay within 1 or 2 days. But when there is a nutritional or the metabolic diseases, so it cannot be cured in a single injection or single or it requires a lot of treatment and lot of duration of the treatment is long. So this is very critical, but we give a less importance to this. As a veterinarian, we make a lot of mistake in this. So as a field veterinarian, we even I have worked as a field veterinarian. So whenever there is a case is presented in the clinic, in the hospital or in the field conditions, so we generally look at it as some infection. So we try to cure the infection, maybe, but the root cause is different, like the corona. So corona, if your immunity is good, corona is nothing for you. If the immunity is bad, it matters a lot. So like this, the animals also, if they have got a good nutrition, good immunity, there will not be any diseases. So 90% of the problems, health related or production related problems are due to the nutrition. So we should take care of the nutrition of the animal. So this is the basics. So nutrition and the management is the basic. So we should take care. So we should give utmost importance to the feeding of the animal because it not only involves the health of the animal, it indirectly affect the production, indirectly affect the economy of the farmer who is keeping the animal. So what is nutrition? So nutrition, so we know like it might, the Dr. Giridhar might have explained it. So it involves various physical, chemical and biological process in which the food is transformed into tissues, body tissues and activities. So here there is digestion, and also absorption of the nutrients, and then it is metabolized and waste is removed. So whatever is not digested, it is removed from the animal body. So this is nothing but a simple, the whole nourishment of the animal. So nourishment. So if you say like in the human beings, the nutrition not only involves building a body. So in the, especially in the human beings, the nutrition also involved your psychology, your mood. So it depends what type of, your mood depends what type of food you are having. Or to, if you are very dull, maybe you are having a different type of food which requires more energy, more physical or chemical activity to burn it. Or if you are lighter having, maybe your mood is good. So that's why there are many factors which affect the, especially in the human beings, the mood. Mood is depends on the food also. So we'll not go in depth about that. So we're going to coming to the how the nutrition the affect the performance. So even though so what happens if you say take the animals as such, the cattle, dairy cattle as such in Karnataka. So here we have got a more number of crossbred cattle, so with a good genetic backup. So they are crossbred with the exotic breeds. So, and we have improved the genetic makeup of the animals. But when you see that the production is not matching with the genetic makeup of the animal, because this is mainly due to the deficiency of the nutrient, and some cases it may be due to the over nutrition also. So sometimes there is imbalance in the nutrition. The farmer may be giving more of protein or more of energy or maybe more of some minerals. If you give more of calcium, so usually in the field condition, what happens whenever the animal production goes down? So usually calcium supplementation is done. So without considering the other minerals. So if you are increasing the calcium, so it will going to affect the utilization of the other minerals, like it will going to affect the phosphorus, it will going to affect the zinc, it will going to affect the iron, it will going to affect the copper. So that's how the animal will not going to perform. Even though you are supplementing some of the nutrients, it will not going to give the performance, because it will going to indirectly affect the utilization of the other nutrients. So here, what you have to do is, if you want to exploit the genetic makeup of the animals, so we should give the proper nutrition. Nowadays, usually earlier we used to say balanced nutrition. So balancing of the nutrition. So whatever the requirement is there, so depending on that, we used to balance and we used to give. Now the concept is precision nutrition. Precision means to the precise. So we should feed the animal to the precise. So say for example, if a cow is there which is giving 10 liters of milk, so we should calculate the nutrient requirement for a 10 animal which is giving 10 liters of milk. So accordingly, we should give only provide the required amount of nutrients, not even less, not even excess. So what happens if you give excess also? So it will be excreted through the dung and the urine, and it will going to contaminate the environment. So that is a major concern, especially in the developed nations. So there, because of the dung and the urine, so which are rich with the phosphorus and nitrogen, so they are contaminating the environment there. So there is a more concern on the excess of feeding of some of the nutrients. So, but in Indian condition, it's not so far. But some of the farmers, so they are doing a imbalanced nutrition, which is going to affect the not only the cost of production, it will also going to affect the performance. Along with that, it will going to affect the environment also. So again, one more thing is the cost of feeding. So nearly in a livestock sector, 70 to 80% of the cost involved in the feeding of the animal. So if this is taken care, if the feeding cost is reduced, so then the livestock sector become profitable. But you nowhere, if you go to any farmers, if you go to any dairy farmers, or if you go to any poultry farmers, they will not say they are under a profit, because almost all everyone is either in a very low marginal profit, or they are largely in a loser side. So this is mainly because of the poor management, and also because of the improper nutrition, and also due to the imbalancing of the nutrients, and not able to cope up with the market price of the ingredients. So these are the some of the areas which we should take care. And also, we never should compete with the human food, because there are some ingredients which are exclusive for the human beings. Because if you take the human population, roughly there are 7 billion humans in this on this world. So we have got 2.5 billions of livestock on this earth. So totally we have got roughly around 10 billions of the living beings which surviving on the earth. So indirectly we are exploiting the earth also. So we need to reduce this. So whatever is not consumable to the human beings, that should be fed to the animals. So we should not think of giving a rice, or I should not think of giving a whole maize, or think of giving the whole wheat to the animals. So we should think of giving the byproducts of this, which are not consumed by so that we can reduce the cost of production, and also we should not be, the cost of ingredients should be decreased. And also we should be able to manipulate the ingredients so that the effective utilization of the nutrients can be optimized. So these are some of the areas, so this is my first class, I thought I should give a brief introduction on this. So if it was a regular class, we would have discussed in length, but since this is online, so we'll restrict to here. So coming to the history, so if you see the history of any science, so if you see the history of any science for this matter, always the history started with the curiosity of the human being. So always the human mind is curious. So it want to know what is that. It knows the something, it want to explore the other things. So this is nature of the mind. So here, what happened? One of the scientists by Sanctorius Sanctorium. So what he did was, he was very curious to know what happens to the food. So he weighed himself before having the food, and he weighed after having the food. So, and again, he saw that there is an increase in his weight after having the food. Again, he weighed after some time, after 2 or 3 hours. There was, again, the weight decreased to the normal. So he was curious what happened to the food. So this is how the curiosity started. So everyone is curious, but only some few people will proceed with their curiosity, and few people say, end there. Okay, it is, what is the matter? So again, one more scientist like Stanislavski, what he did was, so he took a Lenin bag. So in that Lenin bag, so he put a piece of meat and a bread, and it was along with the thread. So the bag was tied with the thread, and he swallowed the bag. So we want to know actually what are the changes that will happen inside the stomach. So after some time, he again with the thread, he took out the Lenin bag, and see that there was some chemical changes happening, or there is a decrease in the quantity of the meat and the bread. So he was curious. He want to know what is the changes that has happened, what is the things that are all going on in the stomach. So then there was a scientist called Antoine Lavoisier. So we consider him as the father of nutrition, because he was the person who introduced the balance. So balance was not there. So balance was introduced, and balance is the primary tool in the nutrition. So whatever the nutrition studies we have done or conducted so far, even now we are conducting. So primary tool in the nutrition study is the balance. We weigh the animal, and based on the weight we feed the animal. So then we weigh the animal again, and we see what are the weight changes in the animal. So that's how we'll go into. So balance was the primary tool. So then he discovered the thermometer also. So he introduced the thermometers to see whether the temperature change when after having the food also. So along with the Laplace, the another one more scientist Laplace, so he designed the calorimeter. So animal calorimeters, he designed to know the amount of heat that is produced in the body. So till then, so there was a concept that the food is a single entity that is that is going to nourish the animal. So later on, the William Prout, he proved it wrong. He found that food is not a single entity. It comprises of saccharine, oily, and also the albuminous ingredients. That is in the saccharine, what we call it as a carbohydrates, oils, that is lipids, and the albuminous, the proteins. So we know what we categorize. So he found that these are the major ingredients which are going to nourish the animals. So later on, the research started in this. So this is a person like Anton Levesher. So we consider him as a father of the animal nutrition as such, not animal nutrition, like father of nutrition. So he's a French man. The Anton Levesher was a French scientist. So then Mulder, G.J. Mulder, he gave the name protein to the nitrogenous compounds. So what are the nitrogenous compounds were there? He combined them, he gave a name as a protein. So means to take a first place. So he gave importance to the protein. So it should be the first ingredient in the food, because this will be the building block, because the next scientist, that's Francois Magendie, also found that. So whatever the nitrogen is there in the animal body or in the human body, the nitrogen is coming from the food. So whatever the weight we have, whatever the body weight we have, so this is nothing but the food. So daily millions of cells are dying in the animals or the human body, and it is being replaced. So daily we are being changed. The animals or the human beings are being changed because of the nutrition. So we are not the same as we are born. So the cells are changing. There is a continuous death of the cells. Again, there is a regeneration of the cells. So they are replaced. So this is all because of the food. So type of the food what we eat. So next, Babcock, Stephen M. Babcock, he was the famous for this Babcock test, Babcock experiment. So what he did was, so he fed only a single type of ingredient to the animal. So he took a group of cattle. So to one group he fed only maize grain. To other group he fed only wheat plant. And he found that the animals' performance were okay, but after the reproduction, so he got only the dead fetus, or there was abortions, more dead fetus. So he was very curious to know what is the effect of these single type of the ingredients that is affecting the performance in the animals. So he gave the concept of purified diet, that is giving only single type of feed or the single type of food to the animal, so that to know whether only single food is sufficient or the animal requires other nutrients also. So this purified diet concept gave the rise to so many research. Because of the purified diet concept, now we could identify so many minerals. We know 22 minerals are essential. So we know like there are vitamins, fat soluble vitamins, there are water soluble vitamins. So these are the vitamins which are essential. So all these are as a result of the purified diet concept. So here the scientists, what they did, they prepared a purified diet and added only the diets which they know. Say earlier the first vitamin discovered was the thiamine, B1. So only after to the carbohydrate they added the thiamine and they fed to the animal. So they found that even then the performance is not good, and there was some deficiency symptoms. So later on they identified the factors which are causing the deficiency, and they identified those factors which are actually affecting. So that's how the vitamin research is going on. Still, we have not identified all the vitamins. So still some vitamins are so coming. So for example, the biotin, recently cyanocobalamin, so recently identified vitamins. So we don't know much. We may in the future also we may identify some more vitamins also, which are maybe essential in a very minute quantity. So then there is one more scientist called these two scientists, Henberg and Stoneman. So these are the pioneers in animal nutrition because they wanted to know the composition of the feed. So they came up with the proximate analysis. They want to know the chemical composition in the food. So they were working in a Germany, the Windy Research Station in Germany. So they identify the chemical composition and they categorize the components as the water, crude protein, ether extract, crude ether extract, and the crude fiber, total ash, and nitrogen-free extract. These 6 proximate components. So they found that these are the major 6 proximate major nutrients that are present. But still, these proximate principles still holds good. Still, we are using for estimation or to evaluate the nutrient quantity of the food. So this is very much essential. Still, even though it was discovered in the 1865, but still we are using it. So because most of the research, if you see, this is Stephen M. Babcock, the person who conducted the animal experiment with the single type of food. So if you see the most of the research in the earlier days, so earlier days the Germans were very far in conducting the research. But the problem with the Germans were they are not good with the English. So they know only German. So most of the research work, but they conducted a research, they did not document it. So whereas the English peoples, the England peoples and the Americans, they are very good in recording the findings. So whatever the research was there earlier, they recorded it and they published it. That's how they become famous. In fact, actually, Germans were very good in the research earlier days before the Second World War. So then, other peoples like Nathan Zunk. So he developed. So we know now there are different nutrients. 6 nutrients are there in the feed, and we know how the digestion is taking place. And now the concept is how the energy is being utilized. What happens to how it is going to burn in the system. So yeah, Nathan Zung, he developed a portable respiratory apparatus because there is a clear-cut relationship between the amount of oxygen consumed and amount of energy released in the animals or the human beings, or amount of carbon dioxide released in the system. So there is a clear relationship. So it directly correlates with the amount of energy that is released. So if you are giving more of, if the animal is expiring more of a carbon dioxide, it is burning more energy. So, or if it is consuming more of oxygen, it indicates it is burning more of the energy in the system, or it is spending more energy in the system. So this is one of the apparatus which helped in the development of our estimation of the energies. So here again, he also explained the mechanism of Fourier relation in the ruminants, because ruminants is a bigger, the undiscovered concept, because in the rumen as such. So we're going to discuss in deep when you're going to start with the ruminant nutrition. But so before that, the rumen, we know like ruminants have 4 chambers. In this, the first chamber, the rumen. So in the rumen, the microbes will going to digest or they ferment the nutrients. So they play a very critical role. So till 19th century, we don't know what is happening in the rumen. So, but still we don't know actually the 100% of the rumen. So we hardly know 50% of the rumen, because the rumen, we cannot touch it, we cannot change it, we cannot do anything with the rumen microbes. So if you want to try to manipulate the rumen microbes, it will going to affect adversely. So it is an ecosystem by its own, it is a nature by its own, so we cannot do any manipulation with the rumen. So he was the one who came up with the mechanism of Fourier iteration by the rumens. Then next, Armsby, he constructed respiratory calorimeter for animals. So earlier one by the portable respiration apparatus for the human beings. Then there was a Max Rubner. So he is the whatever he proposed, still we are using it, the energy metabolism. So he told that you might have studied or you're going to study in the biochemistry also, because carbohydrate can be changed to lipid, lipid can be changed to carbohydrate, and carbohydrate can be changed to the proteins also. So the non-essential amino acids can be synthesized from the carbohydrates. So these interchange can happen. So you're the first person who proposed this. So there is an interchange of nutrients. So it doesn't mean that only by carbohydrates the animal will be depleted of protein. So some protein, amino acids will be synthesized. But of course, the animal will be deficit with some amino acids, the essential amino acids. But even then, the animal can survive. So these are the respiratory apparatus that was the invented in the earlier days. So to measure the amount of oxygen consumed and the carbon dioxide given off. So this is one for the birds. So mask is fitted. So here they are going to measure the amount of oxygen consumed and the carbon dioxide released. So that we are going to know the amount of energy that is being spent in the animals, energy being utilized. So this is a modern system. So where there will be chamber which is air conditioned. So along with insulation, so that there is no loss of heat from the chamber. So there will be inlet through which the oxygen will be pumped inside, and they're going to quantify the amount of oxygen that is pumped inside, and they're going to measure the amount of carbon dioxide that is coming out, and also the methane that is coming out. So in this process, there will be generation of the heat inside the chamber. So that will be measured. So with the insulators. Okay. So this is how the calorimeters work. So again, with this, the major nutrients were known, like carbohydrates, proteins, and fat were known. But again, some of the minor nutrients like minerals and vitamins, they are largely not known to the scientists. So in the 19th century, the mid of 19th century, it was just observed that the pigeons which are fed on a low calcium diet, they have got a weak bone, so easily breakable bones. So after he started feeding with the lime. So the pigeons which are fed with the lime supplements also, so they perform better than the pigeons which are only fed on the grains. So he found that lime should have some components which is going to help in the development of the bone. So that's how the calcium was identified. So later on, so many minerals came into existence. So still there is a research on the minerals. So now we know there are major minerals, 7 major minerals, and minor minerals, 13 minor minerals are there. 15 minor minerals are there. And there are some minerals, still there is a research going on. They are called as semi-essential or partially essential minerals. So sometimes they are essential, sometimes they may not be essential also. So this is how the mineral studies is still going on. Still the research is going on. Still we need to identify many minerals. So then the vitamins are also discovered. The the B1 and the vitamins. So the deficiency, the persons who are eating more of a polished rice, especially this started in the China. The Chinese people started eating more of a polished white rice. So they develop a very symptoms under the skin. There has been pinpoint hemorrhages. So then they try to identify this factor. So the persons who are fed with the whole rice, they got cured. So they identified this factor. They identified as the B1. The first it was identified as the beriberi factor. Then it was identified as the B1 vitamin. So we're going to discuss in detail when we're going to discuss the vitamins and minerals. So that's how out of curiosity, so many research work has been done. So if you are very curious and if you are a good observer, so naturally it will lead to the different discoveries. So then coming to the rumen, so the Hungate was the first person. Yeah, he is actually a microbiologist. So he discovered so many rumen bacteria. So he took the rumen sample and he identified so many rumen bacteria. Still, the Hungate holds good in the when it comes to the rumen bacteria. So still we refer the Hungate, the Roman microbiology book for studying the classification of the Roman bacteria and their nature. So he was the pioneer scientist in working on the Roman bacteria. Then there was a Grube and Nelford. So they identified Roman protozoa. So in the 1843, and there was one more scientist called Bochap. He identified the fungi in the year 1966. So see the difference. In 1843, protozoas were identified. In 1966, so fungi, because fungi was largely not known in the Roman. So nobody believed that the fungi can survive inside the Roman because the bacteria will go into predate on the fungi. So, but even then the fungi is surviving in the rumen because there is a larger importance of this fungi in the rumen, because this fungi especially helps in the degrading of the harder part of the food. Like if you are feeding a very hard stem, say for example, if you are from the sugarcane bed, if you are feeding the sugarcane stem, so for degrading that hard sugarcane stem, we need a fungi. But unfortunately, the fungi cannot be manipulated, or fungi number cannot be increased in the rumen because of the bacteria, because bacteria will not allow the fungi rapid multiplications. So this we're going to discuss again when we're going to discuss the ruminants. So with this all, like in the 20th century, we largely know the many vitamins and minerals, amino acids, fatty acids were discovered, and there came the feeding standards. So first there was a NRC feeding standards, CRC feeding standards, NRC from the America, National Research Council, they developed the feeding standards. Then Agriculture Research Council, CRC from the England, they developed the feeding standards for different categories of animals. And we largely adapted, Indians, we adapted the previous the feeding standards developed by the developed nations. But later on, we had our own feeding standards by BAS, Bureau of Indian Standards. So later on, now we have got a ICR feeding standards. So according to ICR feeding standards, we compiled our own research works that are carried out in the Indian conditions, and we have developed the feeding standards for our animals. So again, we're going to discuss this in depth when we're going to discuss the feeding standards. So now so many non-conventional feeds are also discovered. Like still there is a work going on non-conventional feeds to how better you can utilize them, because you should not compete with the human food, because if you are to compete with the human food, again the cost of production will go up. So to avoid this, we are feeding so many non-conventional feed stuff. Okay. So then coming to the relationship with other branches, the animal nutrition is the one of the science where we should have a back of knowledge of the chemistry, biochemistry, and physiology. So without this, so sometime, and also mathematics. So if we don't know these sciences, so it becomes very difficult to understand the nutrition. So we should know the physiology of the animal, we should know the biochemistry of the nutrient utilization, and to calculate, to arrive at, we should know the mathematics. So these are very much related. To other sciences, they are maybe indirectly applicable, but in the nutrition, they are directly applicable. So they are, we should be very thorough with the physiology of the animal, very thorough with the biochemistry, then only we can understand the nutrition. So they are very much related. So these are some of the milestones in the development of nutrition, like Lavoisier. So as I told you, he was the person who invented balance, and he invented calorimeter also. He considered as a father of animal nutrition. And the Prout, William Prout, he came up with the concept like there is no one nutrient, there are multiple nutrients. So he was the first person who gave the concept of carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. Then the G.J. Mulder, he gave the name protein, and Megandy, he gave the essentially the food nitrogen. He told that there is a whatever the nitrogen is there in the body, it is a result of the food. Okay, it is coming directly from the food. Atwater, he invented the human respiration calorimeter to know the energy utilization, amount of energy utilized, and Kellner, he gave the starch equivalent for the energy estimation. Okay, so amount of starch and burned is equal to the amount of the other nutrients. So that we are going to discuss when we want to discuss the energy concept. And also there is a Hansby, he gave the respiratory calorimeter, and Klebner. So he was the Klebner is Max Kleber is a very important here, because so whatever the nutrient requirement we are going to estimate, so we will going to estimate not based on the body weight, we are going to estimate based on the metabolic body weight. So what is the difference between body weight and the metabolic body weight is? So metabolic body weight refers to the surface area of the animal, whereas body weight is as such. So when you weigh the animal on a balance, and that is the body weight, it includes all. Whereas the surface area is different from the actual body weight. So here we are going to take into consideration the nutrient requirement will be calculated based on the surface area. How to arrive at the surface area, because we cannot measure the surface area of animal. There are many turns in the animal. There will be stretching in the animal. So there is a contraction in some parts. So he came up with the concept of the just body weight raised to 0.75 or body weight raised to 3/4. So that will be the body surface area of the animal. Say for example, if the animal is weighing, so sheep is weighing 25 kg, so the metabolic body weight of this 25 kg animal will be around 40 to 50 kg. That is the surface area of the, because this is the surface area is the one which will going to decide the amount of the energy that is utilized. Because whatever the heat that is generated, naturally it has to go through the skin or go through the respiration or the excretions. So this is how it is going to decide. So this is a very good discovery what the Kleber has made. Then Underwood, he discovered the mineral nutrition. So he came up with the very minerals. He did a research work on mineral nutrition. Max Rubner, so he was also very pioneer in working on the energy metabolism. And next is Van Soest. So here we generally in the proximate analysis we say crude fiber, but here again Van Soest, he worked on the different fractions in the fiber. He categorized them as the neutral detergent fiber, acid detergent fiber. He categorized them as cellulose, hemicellulose, and the lignin. So this classification, that is cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, was given by Van Soest. And Berg and Stoneman, I told you the approximate. And coming to some of the Indian scientists, Casey Sen, he gave the nutritive value of the Indian cattle feeds, so estimated, and Talpatra, he gave the method of estimation of minerals. Still, we use that Talpatra method for estimation of the calcium, phosphorus, and other minerals in the laboratory. Angate, I told you the Roman microbiology, and Funk, he gave the word vitamins. So these are some of the scientists, important scientists. So still so many are there. So we're going to discuss whenever the related topics. Okay. So when we're going to discuss the vitamins, the scientists related to vitamins will be discussed. So this is in brief about the history of the animal nutrition. So here I have given some related questions also. Okay, so you can answer. I will going to send the PowerPoint to all your email IDs. So you can go through this and you can answer the questions within this stipulated time. So if you have got any doubt or anything related to the online class, if your audio is not clear or something like this, you can ask a questions or you can have a queries here. So you can unmute your audio and you can ask the questions. So out of 80, only 50, 49, 51 was there. So okay, if you don't have any questions, I'll going to end this class. Okay. So I'm going to send the PowerPoint to the your mail. If possible, I will going to send the video also. So try to send through the Google Drive, and you can download it and you can watch. And it is better if you most of you can join the class and you can interact, because this is an online class. Sometimes it becomes very monotonous. So a single person talking every time, so it becomes monotonous. So better if there is more interactions and more questions, so you can interacting, start interacting, and you can understand the topics better. So in future, try to interact in the classes. So okay, take care. We'll meet in the next class.